Hey everybody. Um, I'm happy you guys joined us. My name's Clark over at the Barn Owl. We have a pretty awesome presentation that was previously done by the folks over at Mariani. And Before I jump in, like just a few quick things so we can get it rolling smoothly, is I'll ask you if you don't mind placing yourself on mute. That way, like we get the nice crisp sound, and then at when you guys have questions, if they pop up, if you look at the second button next to participants, there's something that says chat. Just type in those questions, and then I'm going to have Samantha and Mike over at Mariani, when the presentation is done, we'll ask them a few of these questions. If there's a whole boatload of them, what I'm going to do is I'll reach out to them offline, and we'll get those questions answered. But Mariani has been a vendor of ours. They're over in Kenosha. They grow a really nice finished product, and it's kind of locally grown stuff that's used to our climate because they're so close here. And what they're going to do in this presentation is kind of highlight some of the plants that they have had really good luck with and have seen quite a big success, and also some new plants that they're really excited about. So yeah, so we're going to get started with the presentation. I'm going to pop off on mute, and I'll keep track of your questions. And if there's anything, just type it in that chat function. And thanks again for joining.
Hello and welcome. My name is Samantha. I'm the account sales rep from Mariani Plants, and today we have paired with Barn Owl Garden Center to present to you the up-and-coming hot plants for 2021, as well as the Mariani Select plants. Those are our tried and true top performing plants year after year, and I really do hope that you enjoy our presentation. The general manager, Mike Meninaw, will be joining us for questions at the end. We look forward to answering all of your wonderful questions. First up is Kendall and Kathy discussing our perennials.
Today we're going to talk about some of our new perennials that we'll have in 2021. And Kathy's going to start with one of her favorites. It's the Echinacea Mellow Yellow. Go ahead, Kathy.
So I'm really excited about Echinacea Mellow Yellows. And the reason why is it's not just yellow. It actually comes out a real strong gold in the buds, and then they open up to like a gold yellow. And then as the flowers fade, they kind of turn to more of a creamy yellow. So on the plant, you see this entire array of different colors. And then the cone colors actually change color too. It kind of starts off as green, then changes to gold, and then turns into like this burnt orange color. They run about 36 inches tall by 16 to 20 inches wide. They bloom all the way from June through September. Most echinaceas will handle full sun. They're heat and drought tolerant once established, and they handle tough soils.
Next up, we're going to talk about Heliopsis Bleeding Hearts. This one's amazing. Go ahead, Kathy.
I believe Heliopsis in general are way underused in a perennial garden. These plants get to be about 3 feet tall by 3 feet wide, and they have an extremely long bloom cycle from July through frost. They make a great cut flower as well. Now this Heliopsis is really unique because of the fact that it has this dark foliage. It's like a dark green with a burgundy tinge, and then it has these amazing burnt orange blooms. And the stems actually on the plants are black as well, so it really kind of gives you this great contrasting color in the garden. These actually prefer full sun to part shade. They're going to do really well even in a really hot afternoon sun. And yes, they're very bee and butterfly / pollinator friendly.
Next, we're going to talk about a new miscanthus. It's Oktoberfest. Tell me about it, Kathy.
So Oktoberfest is really interesting because it colors earlier than October. So this is about a 4 to 5 foot tall grass, gets about 3 to 4 feet wide. And then when the plumes occur, you're looking at more like a 6 to 7 foot tall grass. So the leaves start out as a solid green with a white midrib. And then like late summer, early fall, they start turning into this shade of purples and reds. The seed heads start off as burgundy and copper, and then they mature to these super fluffy plumes.
The next one we're talking about will glam up your garden. We're talking about Phlox Glamour Girl. Go ahead, Kathy.
I'm really excited about Phlox Glamour Girl. Now, I tend to be a phlox addict, so I love to see the assortment of colors and the assortment of scents that come from panicle phlox. This plant gets 32 inches tall by 18 to 24 inches wide, and we had samples at the nursery this last year. The foliage was super clean, and the bloom was this beautiful corally type pink flower. As with most phlox, they prefer full sun. They're long blooming and typically will rebloom if you deadhead. They're a great cut flower and fragrant, and hummingbirds and bees adore them.
Our last but not least, let's go back to the fuchsia with this new salvia. Let's hear about it, Kathy.
So salvia color spiles back to the fuchsia. This is an awesome plant. You know, you're looking at about 24 inches tall by 24 inches wide. It's got a nice upright habit to it. And there's really beautiful dark fuchsia pink flowers. The foliage is also very fragrant on salvia. And because of the fragrance, it tends to be rabbit and deer resistant. They rebloom when you cut them back. And the dark stems really accent the beautiful fuchsia flowers. These plants are adored by hummingbirds, bees, and butterflies, and they're very drought tolerant once established. You're looking at a zone 3 plant.
Next up is our Mariani Select plants. These are our tried and true top performers year after year.
Kathy's going to start with Calamintha Montrose White. Tell us what you like about it, Kathy.
I just love how pollinator friendly this plant is. I mean, when you go into blooming Calamintha Montrose White, there are so many different types of bees on the plants. I couldn't even count. So Montrose White gets 12 to 18 inches tall with an equal width. It profusely blooms for June, July, August, and through September. They prefer full sun. They do better in dry soils. Calamintha Montrose White is the perfect addition to any pollinator garden.
Montrose White sounds like the bee's knees. All right, how about Echinacea Lakota Fire? Tell me about that one.
Oh my gosh. So let me just say up front that this is probably the favorite echinacea of almost all the employees at Mariani Plants.
Agreed.
Yeah, isn't it? And the reason why is because of the fact that you get a full beefy plant. So the plant itself without blooms is beautiful, but then it gets loaded with buds, and probably about the highest bud count that I've seen on any echinacea. And the buds come out a dark fiery red, changing to a dark fiery red bloom that fades just a little bit as they mature. So you just see this huge splash of color all at once. Now Lakota Fire get to be 12 to 16 inches tall by 16 to 18 inches wide, has nice densely branched habit. They bloom from July through August, and they do have a persistent cone. This is a favorite of all of ours, and I strongly recommend you add it to your landscapes.
Yeah, you're not lying when you say Lakota Fire is a big favorite of all of ours. I've got that in my garden, and I absolutely love it. So how about Heuchera Mahogany Monster?
Heuchera Mahogany Monster is one of my favorite Heuchera that we have available right now. It's part of the Primo series. It is a proven winner. They have a large, ruffled, mahogany tone leaf to it, and the habit on the plant is really dense and full, and it does not flop. So this is one of my favorite Heucheras for that reason. And the color itself is not like, a dark purple that kind of gets lost into the mulch. It's a beautiful mahogany red color as well. So this has been a real favorite in the garden. They do get pink buds and they open into cream flowers. Most Heuchera prefer part shade and do not like to have wet feet for a super long period of time.
Mahogany Monster sounds like a lovely plant. What about our last but not least, Autumn Frost? It's one of my personal favorites.
Hosta Autumn Frost, that's part of the Shadowlands series. They're a proven winner. They were actually the 2019 Hosta of the Year for proven winners and the 2010 America Hosta Growers Association Hosta of the Year. And the reason why is because this blue hosta has a super wide yellow margin that basically kind of matures into more of a creamy yellow during the season. So you really can see the outline of the margin. So hosta Autumn Frost get to be 12 to 16 inches tall, so this works great as a border plant. They do get 24 inches wide. They have light lavender flowers that appear in June, July, and they're considered actually a premium hosta by Walter's Garden. And how they clarify that is that they have consistent performance, great resistance to pests. And we've seen that experience as well. So we're pretty excited about Hosta Autumn Frost.
I absolutely agree. Autumn Frost is one of my absolute favorite hostas. I've used it in my own landscape and others. Well, thanks for joining us today, you guys. We hope you enjoyed our short list of some of our favorite select plants. So now we're going to hop into our Mariani Select Shrubs. These are 5 of Carrie's favorites. And our select shrubs are the ones that are tried and true. They do well in the garden every year. They never give us any problems. They're just outstanding plants. So the first one on our list today that Carrie's going to talk about is Forsythia Show-Off. Tell us about it, Carrie.
So the Forsythia Show-Off, the reason I chose it is that mainly because it's March, and I am really anxious to start seeing some of that spring color in the garden. The show-off gets about 3 to 6 feet tall and wide. It starts blooming in March through April. It's one of those plants that does not need pruning. It doesn't take a lot of care in the garden. You just kind of let it go and let it do its thing. And it has a tight, compact habit, great for borders and foundations.
Sounds lovely. So what about Catinus Winecraft Black?
So the Winecraft Black, I love this plant because of the color. In the spring, it starts to leaf in purple, and then it slowly matures into an almost black color for the summer. And then come fall, it actually turns into that beautiful orange fall color that we all love to see. And then the flowers on this plant are also very unique. They are a large ball of wispiness.
They are awesome.
And so they're a real wispy, kind of very unique flower that is a deep pink, and it almost gives this this look of smokiness to the plant.
I absolutely love the smoke bushes. They're so fun. So what about ginger wine physocarpus? Tell us about that.
So the ginger wine is great color from spring to fall. So you might see a little bit of a theme going on here. I really like my color. So the ginger wine actually it does its best in full sun. So you're going to get the most color variations the more sun that you give it. It doesn't require a lot of care. Doesn't require pruning. You just kind of let it go and do its natural thing. They start out with white flowers in the spring, and then in the fall they turn a nice orange-red color.
I absolutely love the physocarpus, especially the ginger wine. That one's gorgeous. So tell us about Cornus Bergeson's Compact.
So Bergeson's Compact is a really fantastic red twig dogwood. They have really nice contrast in the winter with their red bark against especially the snow, or they're even great to cut and put in arrangements for the Christmas holidays. They get 4 to 6 feet tall and wide, so they have nice long branches to use in those. And then in From May to June, they have a nice creamy white flower, and then they fade to a red burgundy leaf color in the fall.
Our last but not least is one of my favorites too. Tell us about Iroquois Beauty Aronia.
So the Iroquois Beauty gets 3 to 4 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. In the spring, it has white flowers, and in the fall, a nice red-orange leaf color. And then during the summer, it gets a really cool blackberry. And my favorite part about this one is that you can plant it in any soil type, and it will do fantastic.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for listening to us about our 5 favorite select shrubs.
Up next, Kendall and Carrie will discuss the hot new hydrangeas for 2021.
And we're really excited about them. So for the first one, we're going to talk about Firelight Tidbit. Tell us about it, Carrie.
So Firelight Tidbit is a paniculata, and it is the smallest of the paniculata hydrangeas, but it still has the same large flower heads. It's 2 to 3 foot tall and 3 foot wide. It is one of the earliest bloomers of the hydrangeas, very similar to like the little quickfire.
Yep.
And the Firelight Tidbit, it actually starts white, then turns to pink, and then a brighter pink to red.
Now we're going to talk about the big sister, Firelight Hydrangea. What about that one, Carrie?
So the Firelight Hydrangea, it's not a new one this year, but it's pretty fantastic, and we thought we should mention it anyways. So the Firelight gets about 6 foot tall and wide, starts with white flowers, turning over to a bright pink to a red, is also very hardy to our area. Again, is an early bloomer. It's also a great substitute for a vanilla sundae. I know a lot of people like that one. It's the coloring on these are just fantastic.
I love Firelight. Next, we're going to talk about Little Lime Punch. I'm super excited about this one. What do you think about it, Carrie?
I'm super excited about it too. I know every picture that I have seen of it, it just really reminds me of the Hawaiian punch I used to drink as a kid. So, but yeah, I'm really excited about it. The Little Lime Punch gets 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. The flowers are going to start out like a lime green, and then turn over to a bright pink, and then on to the bright Hawaiian punch red that I mentioned. And you're actually going to see all 3 colorings on the plant at one time. So it's just going to be this huge variation of, green to pink to red, and it's just going to be gorgeous. I just know it.
All right, so the next one we're talking about is Quick Fire Fab. Go ahead, Carrie.
So the Quick Fire Fab is one that we did see just a little bit of last fall, and it was just another fantastic hydrangea. We get a little excited about our hydrangeas. So the Quick Fire Fab is another one that gets 6 to 8 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. It is an early bloomer, so you're going to start seeing blooms as early as June on this one. It's also pretty hardy to zone 3. And the flowers on this one range from white to a blush pink, and then turn to a bright pink to even a red from the bottom up as they age. So, like I said, we saw just a few of these last year in our nursery, and it was just fantastic. We were all very giddy about it. So
they are pretty fabulous. So last but not least, we're going to talk about Limelight Prime. Tell us about it, Carrie.
So the Limelight Prime is really an improved version of the Limelight that we all love so dearly. It grows 4 to 6 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. For the Prime, it blooms starting, the white to green, very similar to the Limelight. But the Prime actually turns over to a light pink, and then eventually a deep pink to a red. The further we go into the fall as the temperatures start to cool down. And, and like we say, it is an improved version of the Limelight. So that's Limelight Prime.
Thank you, Kathy, Carrie, and Kendall, for sharing all about these wonderful plants. We hope this has gotten you as excited about these plants as it has us, and I look forward to answering your questions along with Mike in the next segment.
All right, so that was really awesome, and I learned a lot, and I feel like I need to order a lot more plants. And I kind of, especially with these sunny days, I think it's kind of nice to have, even though it's a little early, to get thinking about our gardens. So um, we have, I'm going to open it up. And once again, if you guys just want to start putting your questions in that chat functionality, and then I'll kind of start asking Mike and Samantha. There is one that came from Lisa. She was asking if she should fertilize her shrubs in the spring. And yeah, so I'll leave it to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. A nice full release fertilizer, early spring would definitely help get your plants, pushing, for better growth and flowers. And I'm sure, Clark, you have a lot of product that you can direct them towards. But, typically just a nice full release pelleted fertilizer is great.
So I have a question. We hit a lot of hydrangeas, and obviously they're very popular. A lot of people are going to want to see, I guess my question would be, what hydrangea would you recommend for the longest amount of bloom time throughout the summer?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question, because, there's, they kind of bloom at all different times. You have like your Annabelle, type, mop head type, hydrangeas that flower, a little earlier and fade, kind of midsummer. But then like your paniculata types, like the, limelights, that'll start flowering, like mid-July and go all the way till frost. If you're looking for something a little earlier than that, then, like the quick fire and the little quick fire, the firelights, those will bloom, a little earlier, but then obviously fade, but to me, I mean, you can't go wrong with the paniculata. They will bloom the majority of the summer, but then the flowers still look showy, up until frost.
All right, so we have another question sticking with the hydrangeas about what fertilizer would you recommend for that?
I'm not a gardener, so I mean, usually just like kind of like a 10-10-10, fertilizer is good. I'm not sure, Clark, if you, offer fertilizer, at your company that you would like to recommend, to them. But, I mean, there's a lot of different fertilizers, but you just want something that kind of, is like a, 3 to 4 month slow release.
Yeah, I would agree. We have plenty of different fertilizers, and then definitely hitting it spring and fall is key. But yeah, and then so we're gonna hit, and this is a very common question we see roll up here about the endless summer. People buy it; it looks beautiful, and they're blooming, and then they have trouble getting it blooming year after year. I was wondering if you have any good advice for them.
Yeah, I would stop planting it. Honestly, the original Endless Summer, with the blue mop head flower, kind of took the industry by storm when it came out. The problem is that they're not reliable, especially in our, area. I think on the East Coast, they have a lot better luck with that, and their soil type is natural to, already, kind of lend itself to that blue color. Here you have to treat it. So, it really does not perform consistent year after year. But there are a few endless summer varieties now, like Bloomstruck is a very nice endless summer that does perform a little better than the original endless summer. And then there's a new one called Summer Crush. That's not a blue flower. It's more of a reddish pink flower. But those two varieties definitely perform better consistently throughout the seasons. The endless summer, though, I mean, I stopped growing it a couple of years ago just because, even in our nursery, we could never see it flower the following season. And so we just ended up, moving on to different varieties. Yeah, I mean, I'd pick an Annabelle type variety. There's, Invincible Spirit 2 is a very nice, colorful mophead hydrangea that will bloom every single year for you. And then there's also Invincible Ruby, which is a very bright, kind of red, hot pink flower. And that'll also, consistently bloom. But to find like a true blue flower that will, consistently bloom every season, there's a few out there that are being bred, but I haven't seen any that I'd really put my stamp of approval on yet.
So the other thing I kind of was curious about, we kind of touched on with the Calamintha, and kind of, especially with a lot of gardeners kind of going more towards more pollinator friendly. I was wondering if you could recommend any other shrubs or perennials that people that are really looking to attract the pollinators that you would recommend putting in their garden.
Yeah, Monarda, bee balm, that's definitely one of the #1 go-tos when you're trying to attract, pollinators, bees and butterflies. Russian sage is a great perennial. Every time you walk by a blooming Russian sage, you can just hear the bees buzzing. Agastache, which is a very, wonderful pollinator plant. There's a lot, obviously, look for something that's going to flower for a long time and most likely it's going to attract, some sort of pollinator. A few years ago, it seemed like everybody was really on this native push and it was kind of, confusing on exactly what a native is and what qualifies. But once when they started kind of diving into it a little more, it seemed like people were really focused on, what's a pollinator plant. And luckily, most of the pollinator plants are natives. And, but, we're really trying to attract, insects and, positive things in the landscape. And the plants I just named off, do that really well.
Yeah, the other plant you named that I have that I love is the Iroquois Beauty, the chokeberry.
Oh, yeah.
Birds in the winter, it's just like they flock to that thing. They eat all the berries. It's a good added benefit too.
Yeah, and it gets nice white flowers in May, has awesome fall color, and then it has the berries. So, you pretty much have, 3 seasons of interest there. So it's a really great plant.
All right. I was wondering if anyone else has any other questions. If not, I know you guys. Well, I guess I have one other question. How has this winter treated y'all? Because with everything.
As far as plant health goes, it was a good winter because, leading up to when we had the, real, drop in temperature, we had good snow cover. And that's basically like the best insulation you can ask for is, when we have snow on the ground, I don't worry about winter damage at all. It just seems like, the Mother Nature kind of does a good job on insulating itself. So right now, all our plants look like they're doing fantastic. And as far as, this winter goes, luckily, our staff and our team, we're all healthy, and, with COVID and stuff, I think everybody does a good job keeping themselves safe and doing the right thing. And, so us personally and our plants, have been, doing really well.
That's awesome. On that note, I'll let you get going. I am extremely excited to see y'all's trucks roll in here in about a month. So, yeah, we really appreciate you guys putting all this together. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Samantha, and your whole team. I appreciate it.
All right, Clark, take care. Thank you so much for inviting us.
We'll see you guys. Stay well.
All right. Yep, take care.
All right, well, that concludes our presentation. If you guys have any questions, you can email me at clark@barnowl.garden. As in regards to the list of the different plants, our awesome team member, Carice, is going to be putting together a finalized video format of this and emailing it to you guys. So you will be able to kind of peruse at this at your own leisure. There was definitely a lot of information, and I took away a lot from it, and I hope you guys did too. And I hope to see you guys in the spring. Stay well.